Alberto Willis, your host. Today, we are honored to have Jacilet Griffin, who formed from custody to casket after her son was murdered in the Harris County Jail over a year ago. The Texas Rangers investigated his murder after the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office ruled his death a homicide. The sheriff's office continually lied about the circumstances, once even claiming he might have died from food poisoning, then claiming he might have died from a friendly game of slap boxing. Typical, typical, typical. First of all, Jeslet, I want to first once again give you my most sincere condolences. I know losing a child is extraordinarily difficult. So thank you so kindly for, first of all, talking to me. And secondly, the work that you're doing to make sure this kind of incident doesn't happen again, even as it continues to happen over and over again. So welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just appreciate the opportunity and Mr. Ruiz, just to be able to um, share and get more ears involved with the story. And my son's situation is more than a story, but it's my passion to share the story and to do everything within me as I've organized an organization to help others to reduce stories just like mine.
Well, before we even get started, please, Egberto, when you say Mr. Willis, I feel a bit old. So, yeah. But anyhow, but seriously, now, before we even get started, tell me a little bit about your son.
My son, Evan Lee, was 31 years old at the time of death, the custodial death there in Harris County Jail. And Evan was a high school graduate, college grad, working citizen, just like everyone else. And he had some unfortunate health issues with mental health that was challenging him, but he defeated it by all means necessary. He still, um, in high school, he played football. He received awards in football, and he went to college, received many awards and academic. And also after that, he started to work doing something that he liked until his death. He was working 4 years on his job until his death, um, walking miles in the neighborhood to get back and forth to work because he was not a driver. Um, Evan had a car donated to him because they saw him walking a lot. Um, but at the time of his death, he was just getting everything set up, getting his driver's license, and he had his permit and everything, and had the car nice and shining and clean and ready to go. But Evan was a great person. Evan will give you the shirt off his back, and I really learned the most about Evan during COVID when he will work, his hours and then come out in the neighborhood and help distribute food to the community and help the seniors in our remote area.
Was Evan ever a troubled kid? Was he ever in trouble with the law or anything like that? Or was he what got him involved with the criminal justice system?
Evan had a previous record of one incident of the same, but it was dismissed. But Evan wasn't a troubled child, if you will. Unfortunately, this particular incident that caused his death, Evan was walking on his day off and he was arrested by Arcola Police in Fort Bend County. And I got a phone call from them. They were asking if he had a probation officer. And of course, I told him, no, he don't have a probation officer. And the arrest record states that he looked like a escapee, and he was detained and held in Fort Bend County for 10 days and transported to Harris County. My understanding, it was an error in the system, but they were going to fix it from a previous case. And we end up having his life taken in the process of this error that was in Harris County system.
So in other words, he had no record to speak of. He was arrested because, well, in his case, I hate to say this, but it's too often walking while black to somebody looking suspicious. Is that am I accurate so far? That he was picked up not for doing anything illegal. He was just picked up because of maybe how he looked. Is that what it is?
Exactly. My son was profiled. And again, he did have a prior record, but this was nothing that was a repetitious record of him, in the past having.
Was he a violent person or anything of that sort?
No, he wasn't. Evan was 5'5.5" and would not harm a flea. And of course, protect himself, as I stated in a prior situation that he had with someone at a bus stop. But other than that, Evan was a very normal being, as I stated, trying to work to earn a living.
It is interesting because I think what you're saying is he's did what society have asked all of us to do. Before we get further, I don't want to harp on on anything he would have done before, because I want to make a statement for our audience here. Every adult male, whether they live in Houston, Kingwood, or anywhere else, is at the behest of our criminal justice system. If there's a skirmish, if there's a fight, if there's whatever, it's at the discretion many times of a police officer. If they'll say, well, come on, shake yourself off, guys, go your separate ways, go home. I see that happen a whole lot of times here in Kingwood. People get into little skirmishes, the police officers that want to create a record incident or whatever, go home. But with many of our black children or black boys specifically, the first encounter with a police officer, and the audience, I want you to understand this. When it comes to criminality and many other things, the way our criminal justice system does, BS in is BS out. If you go ahead and spend or harsher when you're dealing with one particular group and putting them into the system and not a particular group, one group may seem as if they have behaviors different than the other. So therefore, the reason I want to get this clear is we speak about a specific incident and what caused a specific incident. Now let's go to your son's incident for this particular issue. So he was arrested not for doing anything illegal, but just because of how he looked. Is that correct?
That's correct.
He was in jail in Arcola, then he was transferred to the Harris County Jail. I imagine that's what they do in the county.
That's correct.
And what happened, and how long did he spend in the Harris County Jail?
He was there for probably about 45 to 46 days.
Okay, let me back up again, because why was he in jail that long, both the 10 days that he spent in Arcola and 40-something days in Harris County, given that there was nothing to pin on him?
That's right. He was held, and I made so many phone calls to the courts, so they told me not to call back, that even though it was an error, the judge did not want to admit it was an error for the court system, but he needed to come before the judge. And every time they had a court date planned and scheduled, they are reset it. And I continue to reach out to so many different agencies trying to get him released. And it's my understanding that because it was an error, he still needed to see a judge for the judge to order him out of incarceration.
What kind of error can keep somebody that shouldn't be in jail for 40 days, over 40 days? What was that error?
Exactly. Um, at that time, I did not get any answers. All I got was he will be going before the judge and he will be released.
And
And
it,
I anticipated just that. I called so many different agencies. I got letters from our congresswoman. I got emails. I was struggling and pulling in every direction that I knew how at that particular time, trying to get answers and to get him out.
now, prosecutors, I believe, are the ones who have can actually uh, remove somebody out of jail that doesn't belong there if they want to, including putting on a no. Even if they let them out, they could easily let them out on a recognizant, especially if it's an error. Correct?
That's very correct.
Now, which district attorney would have been in charge of your son's your son's case? In other words, who's responsible? Is it the Harris County District Attorney or
Yes, the Harris County DA, Kim Ogg, is responsible for that action. Their office is responsible for that. Um, Definitely the DA and those right there, the prosecutors in those courts, they're responsible for that.
so it would have simply been a clerical effort to get your son out if anybody had any interest in getting your son out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And had you ever approached Kim Ogg or any of her staff, given that it's known that there was some error within the computer that caused them to detain your son, uh, did they specifically know of your son's incident?
Definitely, they were aware. They refused to talk to me. I was not able to speak with them. And that's when I went to my Congress persons to get information on it. As we continue to strive to get answers on getting him released, time persisted, day after day. As I stated, the courts told me not to call back to the courtroom because many times when I call, I think they knew my number on the call ID and they would pick up and say, "Yes, Miss Griffin, we don't have any answers and we'll see him in court." And at that time, the judge will sign off and he'll be released.
I am, what is it that I don't know here, Miss Griffin? What is it that I'm missing here? A clerical error has occurred. Your son is locked up for over 40 something days. And during that 40 something days, you're constantly trying to get a district attorney who knows there is a clerical error or some sort of error to get your son out. And ultimately, he dies in jail. What am I missing here? I mean, to somebody on the outside, uh, it seems strange that somebody wouldn't have been saying, well, since a clerical, even though we need a judge to clear things up, let him out on his own recognizance. Is he a violent criminal that should not
That's
have been let out?
that's right. I totally agree with you, Egberto. It's very sad that this happens so many times over and over again, where you have someone there, rather it's an error or they have a, you know, character, dysfunction, whatever it may be, there's, people there, 80% of the people there are sitting in that jail, you know, that are not guilty of a crime, that they're sitting there for. but they have attorneys fighting for them. Their family is fighting for them, and yet you don't get answers. You don't get a response from the sheriff department nor the DA's office. You're not going to get a communication from them at all.
They just
And
become a number.
they're just a number. And I feel like it's prolonged on purpose, to hold these people there, just to have a number for the stakeholders, and not respecting the human beings and their rights.
Now, which was the congressperson that you contacted to help you out during that 40 days?
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, her office was very, very receptive, and they communicated with me as well as try to reach out to the sheriff department to get answers. And we did not get any. We didn't get any answers.
It seems to me like, again, shouldn't they have contacted, let's say, Kimog, and Kimog could simply sign off to get him out of there?
Definitely something like that could happen. It could have happened, but it didn't. As I stated, there was no communications between the DA's office. They did not respond to myself at all, and they did not respond that I'm aware of to Congresswoman's office as well.
Oh, I'm going to be blunt here. I'm going to be very blunt. It seemed like everybody failed you. In other words, the congresswoman's office may have been nice to you. Nice doesn't get somebody released. A job gets somebody released. The Kimog's office may have been, well, we have to wait. I think the entire system failed. I imagine you hadn't gone to the media with this before. Maybe you weren't media savvy back then. Is that correct, or am I?
I did not go to the media at that particular time, but of course, the day that I received a phone call that he was uh, in a coma and not able to make a decision for himself at that time, I went to the media. And again, I went to the Congresswoman as well. And they gave emails, as I stated, to help me to try and see him. From the time I got the phone call from the hospital that he was not able to make a decision for himself, that's when I started, from that day to today, January 15, 2024.
This I'm just completely lost for words. I read the story, but hearing the story directly from you and actually getting the details as far as, well, he was in jail for a clerical error. He was walking and picked up. I mean, it seems like one can mess with our liberty too darn easy. And I am glad, first of all, that you've created this organization from custody to casket. Tell us a little bit about what's your intent going forward, because it seems to me like we do need advocates that puts the fire under these politicians. Because I'm gonna put it bluntly: had your son been somebody else,
Yes,
had your son
definitely.
been somebody else, this would not have happened. But he was not, as far as they're concerned, he was just a black body in that cell.
Correct.
And I think those are things that need to be articulated. In other words, a lot of times we go around the panel and yeah, that's an injustice, etc. But I think he was treated as just that other. And it is very disconcerting, because in your son, I see something that can happen to me or anybody else's son who just doesn't get the attention of those who need to get the attention from.
Yes. Egberto, I feel that if my son was a different nationality, I don't feel that you and I would be sitting here in this conversation, unfortunately. But it's the world that we live in, and we have to accept it, and as a Christian, I accept what God allows, And I've just taken a step forward and never looking back. And I established Custody to Casket to help so many out there that I have been able to put my hands on and able to help in our criminal justice system. Those, especially the mentally ill, trying to get a bill passed that my state representative, Ron Reynolds, authored a bill for me, and we've been trying to push this bill to get it passed. It went across the House as we pushed it, but it got jammed up in the Senate at the end of our 88th session. But I have pushed and I'm doing everything that I can continuously to help those that are mentally ill. And my vision with this organization is to help those and help rehabilitate the mentally challenged and those that are incarcerated wrongfully, because by no means necessary, I feel that every single person, if they're breaking the law, then they should be free. No, that's not true. You know, I do believe in our penal system, I believe in structure, and I believe in disciplinary actions. But I just don't believe in detaining a mental ill person, especially being incarcerated. I think they should be detoured to get help and not be another number to assist with the stockholders and the stakeholders there in the jails. And with this organization, I've been able to help from many of those that have experienced the same as myself. I've been able to assist them with Christian advice, along with many other sources that I have through this organization.
Well, look, first of all, is there anything else that you would like to say that I may have missed, that I may not have asked you that I should have?
Well, yes, right now I would like to update um, since my son's murder in the Harris County Jail on March the 18th is when he was found in his cell. And I feel like no one should be found in a cell when you have a staff that's working. And also, uh, you didn't ask how he was murdered. He was murdered by officers there in the jail. And that makes it even worse that one of the staff members participated in the beating death of my son, Evan Lee.
So, do you have the videos of that? I imagine as well.
The video of his death has not been received. I am represented by Ben Crump LLC in a major,
Class action lawsuit.
it's not a class action lawsuit, but it's what we call a landmark lawsuit, where we have discovered about 21 other families that experienced the same thing that I did, and we decided to file on the same day. It's not a class action lawsuit, but it has been established and it has been filed in the Harris County Civil Courts. And my prayer is that we get some closure, because after 750 days I have no closure on what happened to my son. And I tried to get an autopsy for over a year, and I was finally able to get an autopsy.
They were denying you that ability?
I did not get an autopsy at all. I had to get an autopsy through someone and an agency. They refused as of today, Harris County Jail, the Sheriff Department of Harris County, have not reached out to my family. They have not sent us a postcard. And as I have met many other families that has lost their loved ones in this same agency, it is a routine action. And it's no accountability, no kind of respect at all for the families. And we understand that accidents happen, things happen. But once a person is deceased in your custody, in your care, we should not get a phone call from a hospital or a person from social media trying to find the family to say that, your loved one is in the bed and not moving, and they just say that he's deceased. This is the answers, and this is how people have been contacted. And I think it's very unacceptable and disrespectful to human race that a person is deceased in your care and you cannot reach out to that family to say at least just to say that they are deceased. They don't have to give details. And I understand if there's an investigation going on, but I do feel that they should contact the family in some manner to let them know what has happened. Because if I had not got a phone call from the hospital about my son, I don't know what or when I would have gotten a answer or if they would have contacted us, about my son being deceased. I don't know if Harris County would have reached out to us. And as I reached out to so many to try and see him in the hospital, from a Saturday all the way to a Tuesday, the doctors say, "We give up, Miss Griffin. We're going to advocate for you. Come on up and see your son." I got to the building at about 3 p.m. and they let us see him about 7 that evening. But when I approached him, I saw that he was on a ventilator, and that was not shared with us. They just say he couldn't make decision for himself. And at that time, I was told that we are going to go ahead and send him to the morgue because he's already deemed brain dead. And I had an option to donate his organs and I could see him longer. This is one of the most horrible and horrific feelings that, I have to relive and, live a reality on a daily basis of this. It's very, very sad. But again, as I carry on Evan's name and created this organization and foundation to help others, it's what gives me great joy in all of this. And by me choosing to donate organs, we was able to save 2 lives as well.
Jacilet Griffin, first of all, I am so sorry for your loss, but I am happy that you're not just going to take it. I am happy that you're going to do something about it. And I'm happy that you're encouraging many others to fight against a system that can only be defined as evil for some. Evil for some. We've been speaking to Jacilet Griffin, who was formed from custody to Casket. She lost her son to the Harris County jail. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis. Today we are honored to have a very special guest. Dr. Mansur Nurdel is a board-certified optometrist with offices throughout the Denver metro area. In addition to his time spent as a doctor, he's a real estate agent and investor. He currently resides in Castle Pines, Colorado, with his wife and 2 boys. He's the author of One More Mountain, Fleeing Iran for America. Good afternoon, and thank you so kindly for being here with us at Politics Done Right, Dr. Nurdel.
Well, thank you very much, Egberto. It's an honor to be in your show and the opportunity to talk to you as well as your listeners. This is an honor for me.
Well, look, let me first tell you the book that we want to discuss. And I've always been intrigued with Iran. I mean, I from the time I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which guess what? It started in 1980. So that should be quite apropos with you. But anyway, the book, interesting. But first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself. Not in Iran, but right now, present day in Colorado.
As I have really written the book, I am an immigrant. Of course, I came into the United States as a refugee in 1989, and now currently I live in Colorado, and I operate multiple eye care centers in Denver metro area. And as you mentioned, I have 2 kids. 2 boys. Actually, one is in UT Austin. So
he's a Longhorn.
That's right. He's a big Longhorn fan. So
well,
I don't
should
think
be
he
happy
misses
because
any of the games.
I know, but here's the deal: we are in the we are in the what you call it, playoff.
That's
we
right.
made it to the playoffs. So you're going to be coming to Texas, I guess, a few times to check him out. Does he like it here?
Oh, he loves it. He loves Austin, and he's he had a difficult in the summer there though, but the heat this year was hot, so
brutal. Yes.
So he is enjoying it. So and that's what I'm of course really in the real estate world. I'm a more investor than really more a real estate agent, but I do have a license for just myself, and so to understand the real estate world a little bit better.
So you came here and pretty much lived the American dream. You had the wherewithal to go ahead and work your butt off to move forward here in America, correct?
Yes, I actually came with the $413 in my pocket, and the deposit for my apartment was $275. So I was short even paying the first month the rent. But I am grateful what America has offered to me and many other immigrants. I am really perfect example of American dream immigrant life.
I'm not going to try to get political with you on my politics, but I just want to say something. One of the reasons we do what we do here is exactly that reason. I'm an immigrant as well. I'm an immigrant from Panama, Central America. And one of the reasons I do what I do is we came here like you did to America as a dream, to America as a place where you can be successful if you work hard, an America where your integrity gets you further. So we cannot allow that to go away. But let's talk about your book. Tell me, why did you write the book, first of all?
Well, it's I'll tell you background. In 2007, a very good patient of mine invited us to see a play that he was going to be at. And the play was in a Cherry Creek North Theater, and we didn't know what the play was. And my wife and we just really went to support Mark. And we went there, and the play was about the diary of Anne Frank. As a Persian, as an Iranian, we have no clue who Anne Frank is. We really don't. I had never known about it. I had up to that point. So I am sitting in the play theater, Egberto, and I was really watching my own life in front of my eyes. It was so impactful that I could not sit and watched the play. I walked out. I couldn't control myself. My wife didn't know the depth of the stories, and she panicked. So I'm here. I'm 45 years old, and in the hall is crying his heart out. So ironically, I had actually exactly at the same age as Anne Frank. I had my own diary, because it was so real that I couldn't take it. This was the opening of my talking to my friends and my patients. And anytime I told a little bit of a story of my life to my patients and my friends, they said, "Oh my God, you have to write this." Finally, in 2019, I had more opportunity. Workload was reduced significantly. And I said, this is the one thing I need to do. So I really wrote the book for my kids, my new generation, to understand what life looks like outside this wonderful country that we have here.
Now, you started the book with a story and candy. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was 4 years old when my cousin and I, we ran to a only store that our village had, and we ran to get a candy, and the store owner refused to sell us the candy. And I was just confused. I was, what would a 4 years old really can comprehend? So I came back to my mom and crying and say, his name was Red Eye Muhammad, actually. It was so funny that he had, now that I'm in eye care center, and I know what that condition was.
Right.
So, and my mom said, yes, the store owner will not sell goods to our family because we are not Muslims. We are Baha'is. We were the only Baha'i family in that village. And I really faced the discrimination and from age 4, and knowing my family is different when I was 4 years old.
The reason I wanted to start there is because that is inherently something that so many of us have to go through. And I think it as bad as it is, sometimes it either makes you stronger, meaning you're going to have the resolve to overcome what's been happening to you, or you're going to succumb to it. And it's evident you overcame it time and time again. So tell me the story of you moving around in Iran as you and your family as a person with a different religion than the religion that predominated there. And let me tell you how I'd like to kind of address this, because you lived through various periods in Iran. In other words, in Iran, we could get started with Mossadegh, or we could get started with when the Shah was in power, migrated into to 79 when it was taken over. How were these different periods? Well, with you, not Mossadegh, but the other one. Well, how did this period affect your family, not being that religion that it has been a constancy several thousand years in the making?
So I actually address these some of these in my book. So I started the book really since when I was 4 years old, and I described what, as a young boy, I really experienced everything that you can think of: bullying, name calling, stone thrown at, and just really there was not even a day that I would come home without being bullied on the streets. So, but that was part of daily life. And but in 1978, things changed drastically. So our family, which was the only Baha'i family in the small village in northwestern part of Iran, actually our house was completely destroyed. Our belongings were looted, and we were forced to leave the village. And while we were given only 8 hours of ultimatum, either tomorrow morning to go to mosque and recant what we believe, or get out of the village. We chose the latter one. So I was only 14 years old. In front of my eyes, everything was completely destroyed and burned down. So we left the village, and I grew up. Basically, I spent my teenage years in a larger city called Tabriz in northwestern part of Iran. And these teenage years were tumultuous. This was the time that there was a war between Iran and Iraq, as well as the everyday political unrests, and Baha'is were always target during these times. So several Baha'is were executed during that time in Tabriz. Over 200 Baha'is were executed actually in early 1980s in Iran. So I witnessed all of those.
Now, interestingly, didn't the Baha'i religion start off in Iran?
Yes. Baha'i faith is started in 1844 in Iran.
Now, being of the religion, I mean, there's nothing physically ethnically different than that you have from any Iranian. So you had to be demonstrably, you had to display your religion in somehow that folks knew you were of a different faith, correct?
Correct. They should know that, yes.
So it takes a certain amount of fortitude that in a place where mostly the entire or the vast majority of the country is Islam of the Islam faith, Muslim, that you can actually stand out as a Baha'i or Christian or whatever other religion that inhabits the location. What do you think gave your family that resolve to keep to be able to live that life surrounded as they were?
Well, I think that just being true to yourself and your heart and your belief. So my family, I still have 3 brothers in Iran, Egberto. They're still suffering today. It hasn't gone away. So what has happened since 1988, it has become systematically backed by the government. So that's the prior 1978, 79. Yes, we were in a small village. I was bullied. However, it wasn't in a larger city population to know, okay, you are Baha'i. But now it has become a systematic persecutions of Baha'is by the Islamic government. No Baha'i even today as a young man can get a higher education than high school.
Oh, really?
That's right. My American friends, they really get dumbfounded to hear it. No Baha'i is still allowed to get a higher education than a high school in Iran. Baha'is cemeteries and holy places are destroyed. And even the old, what is it? The old dead body is going to do to you. So, and these are done and really by the government. No Baha'i is still, no Baha'i works in a government agencies, large corporations, and they are in a tremendous economic pressure. So they are all over about 300 now, about 300,000, close to 400,000 Baha'is. All of them are suffering in every aspect of it because of these persecution today.
Now, are you telling me then, Dr. Nurdel, that Baha'is in Iran, Baha'is are not doctors, lawyers, or any of these things? They can only be, let's say, a storekeeper or something like that?
Unfortunately and sadly, absolutely right.
Because if you can't get a professional degree, you can't practice medicine, you can't practice law, you can't practice engineering or any one of those subjects.
Correct.
So if you wanted to be a doctor, you just about had to be a refugee as you were. Tell us a little bit about your path from Iran to refugeedom.
Sure. Well, just to give you a little bit, even to confirm what you said, actually, my brother was a second-year medical school student, and he was expelled from university, and he is still in Iran, and he is in a just running a shop. And not every shop, by the way, they cannot run a shop that has to do with the food or so. Restrictions, just incredible.
Right.
So, to answer your question, so I left Iran to pursue a dream of really becoming an architect, which I ended up being not an architect. And I came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin as a refugee. As I mentioned, it's really nothing in my pocket.
Right.
So
where did you come through? You started in Iran. How did you get to Wisconsin?
I was in Turkey for a year and a half. So what the book is all about, because I walked the border of Iran and Turkey in the dead of winter, 13 days walk, when the temperatures were way below zero, snow up to chest. We crossed the frozen rivers and mountains as high as our Rocky Mountains in Colorado, even higher.
Wow.
And 13 days. We walked at the night times and we slept at the daytimes. So after 13 days, which again, I detailed every single day. Fortunately, I had all these notes to bring those information to life. So it's after I arrived to Turkey, you have to go to United Nations, the refugee office, and register. So I was as a refugee in Turkey for 18 months before coming to United States.
And then you went through the immigration at the United States to get entrance as a refugee into Wisconsin.
Correct.
Now, when you said you traveled through those mountains at night for 13 days, is that a known smuggling path, let's say, that that's used to get people out of Iran who are trying to escape the persecution?
There's a ethnic group in that region, Kurds. Everyone knows these days Kurdistan.
Right.
The Kurdistan is the Kurdish people live in the region that share the border between Iran and Turkey and Iraq. So they really know that region well. They actually intermarry from the one country to another country. So the border doesn't mean anything to them.
Right.
So we had
a guide,
guided or hired these smugglers or Kurdish smugglers to guide us. But it is so dangerous, Egberto, that very, very few Iranians will take that path. It's a super dangerous path. So there are other Baha'is have escaped from Iran. The majority have taken the route to Pakistan, which is much less dangerous.
Now, when you made that journey, did you do it with relatives, or did you do it pretty much, I'm getting the hell out of here?
No, two other friends. Two friends that one is now in Australia, and the other one was in Canada, but unfortunately we lost him.
Okay, sorry to hear about that. Now, it's interesting because one of the reasons that after I Tom kind of told me, Tim told me about you, that immigrant story is powerful, especially in these times where xenophobia is going through the roof. And I tell you, a lot of people don't understand the tribulations that folks go through to come to the United States or other countries. Some of them seem to believe like there's really much of a humane choice not to do it. And I think anybody who can walk across mountains on 0 degrees, they've earned their right to live anywhere.
Thank you. I think my view on this, frankly, my story probably is not any. I am lucky one that I was able to write this story, Egberto.
Right.
I am very, very sure there are much more deeper stories than mine. The immigrants, they really, my view is, bring a different different light to our fabrics of our society. We contribute to this society, and I am perfect example of this. I'm actually honored to say that in the past 25 years, I had employed as high as 86 staff in the Metro Denver area. So it's a gift this country has offered to us, and I am very blessed to be a part of this.
Well, of course you're blessed to be a part of it. I'm blessed to be a part of this country. We are blessed to be, immigrants are blessed to be here, and those who are former immigrants as well are blessed to be here.
Absolutely.
So what I try to mention, and with your story, why it endears me to it, is, again, it's not only that you've employed a whole lot of people, is that you have made the fabric of this country, like every immigrant has made the fabric of this country what it is. Because of who we are is
Correct.
why we can be as powerful as we are. Absent that, we're nothing.
I 100% agree. I think the other thing that I have to say, no one really gets up and leaves his or her country because we just want to. Okay.
Right.
There are certain circumstances that forces us to take this really dangerous routes. I mean,
Right.
I didn't just get up and say, okay, I'm just going to walk on for 13 days in the dangerous mountains. It was actually, I knew several months before that, it was 19 years old and 3 other Baha'is were perished in that mountains. But you do it. Sometimes you just don't have a choice, and or you see a choice future better on the other side of the mountain. At least you take that risk. I took that risk, and I succeeded. And unfortunately, there were people, some did not succeed, and that's how the immigration is. Immigration is all about taking risks for better future on the other side.
Well, the people who settled this country, they took risks, and as well, didn't they?
Absolutely.
And everybody who's sitting on this land took some risks. Those who lost this land, who were originally here, took risks. I mean, one of the things that I try to put out there to because right now we're going through a period of xenophobia in this country, and what I try to make people know using my program quite often is that, first of all, it is great to have you here in this country. It is great to have all the immigrants in this country, but let's also note that externalities, including some created by our country, yours truly, the United States of America, are directly responsible for a lot of the people transition into this to this land. So I think your story and the story of many other immigrants who could tell a different story than your story would give the mosaic that people need to see that, in effect, we shouldn't be looking at immigration as a problem, but we should be embracing immigration, not only because it's a net positive for the country, but just because it's the right thing to do.
100%. I think we need to, I'm pretty sure you know all these statistics, and the United States really 4.4% of the world's population live in the United States.
Yeah.
We consume 18% of the world's resources.
Yes.
We have to rethink, okay, of our consumerism. We have to think. So America is a land of opportunity, and if we want to have a better world, we need to re-examine our behavior, frankly.
And the fact, math is, as you well know, math is absolute. If 4% of the people or taking 18% of the resources, and then you ask why immigrants are coming over here. Well, there's a
100%.
shortage of resources. So math is absolute. We have to be cognizant of that. And one of the things, Mansur, is that too many people, they just hear the top lines and they don't understand the history of the world, and they don't understand the complicity of what we do in the world. And your story and the story of immigrants over and over are there to tell just that. Look, I enjoyed speaking to you, but before we go, I need to ask you a few things. One thing, most important question is,
Sure.
What would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't ask you?
I think you asked everything, and the only thing that I would mention, how this someone can get a hold of this book.
Oh, wow, we're going to talk about that. I just want to know if within the meat of the book, is there something that you want to tell the audience before we go ahead and tell them how they can find the book?
Well, I think it would be addressed. Again, it's really, the book is about the human resiliency and shared faith, and how I like my readers and people know how what the Baha'is are going through in Iran as a result of that. But I appreciate, I think we address everything that I thought we were going to talk.
Well, look, let me ask you, Dr. Nurdel, how can folks, first of all the links to your book is going to be in the accompanying blog for this particular program, but please tell them how they can get your book in other domains.
Thank you. The website for the book is www.onemoremountain.com. The book is available in every format, in audiobook, ebook, Kindle, and it's available through all the major bookstores, as well as any of the Amazon and major bookstores.
And you even got it in hard copy too.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, well, look, first of all, Dr. Mansur, the author of One More Mountain, Fleeing Iran from or for America. Let me repeat that. One More Mountain, Fleeing Iran for America. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you very much. It was an honor, and it was an honor to be here and to talk to your listeners. Thank you very much.